All right. Welcome, one and all, to the first ever DevNTell. Yay! Uh, so my name is Narb. Well, real name is Narbe. I go by Narb for short. I'm a software developer of 6 years, full stack, working in travel out of Vancouver, British Columbia. And I joined this DAO, I think in early October, and have been on this wonderful journey with all of you awesome folks. And just to give a brief overview of what uh, Talk, DevNTell is, is kind of this idea I threw out there in the developer guild to allow everybody in the DAO an opportunity to kind of present any cool thing they're working on, or maybe a particular subject area they're passionate about. So today I'll be going over, for example, my project Glosseta. But if you're so interested in presenting in a DevNTell, you could go the route of perhaps demonstrating what a good unit test looks like versus a bad one, maybe how to structure a class, maybe like a brief introductory overview of like Solidity, basically the world is your oyster, so to speak. So with that out of the way, I guess we can get into the nitty-gritty of things. So again, welcome one and all, and to the people trickling in. So today, what I'll be presenting to you is basically my little pet project named Glosseta. I just switched the screen. Can somebody confirm whether or not they can see my Chrome? Are you trolling, or can you see? Oh, no. Yes, you indeed can't see because I have not enabled screen sharing. So boo. Let me just get that going here. Okay, unfortunately, it looks like I will have to quit and open this, unless. Uh, that is a shame. Okay, brief intermission. I will be back in 1 minute, hopefully. Uh, oh, oh, did it work? Can you see? Can you see the Discord? Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. No restart required. Oh yeah. Now, can you see Chrome? Giddy up. All right. Sweet. Okay. Back to our originally scheduled content here. So, as I was saying, Glosseta. Yes. So this is a little pet project I've been working on the last month and a half, and it's in its current form factor. It is a Web3 glossary of common terms, lingos, potentially people, applications, and whatnot you may see floating around on the internet, hoping to demystify kind of the concepts around Web3 for new and existing folks coming into the space. So the inspiration behind me kind of working on this was basically my own adventure into Web3, where basically my sources of information were basically Twitter, Reddit, various articles I'd find online, and a lot of the time I didn't really know what people were talking about in that content, just because they were throwing out acronyms and whatnot. I'm like, oh, what the heck does this mean? So, for example, uh, as I joined the DAO, I saw a whole stream of GMs flood into my Twitter feed, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what GM meant, and I literally thought people were like raving about General Motors for some odd reason or another. But then I kind of searched around, and I believe somebody on a town hall or something mentioned that it was Good Morning. I'm like, oh, well then, I wouldn't have known unless somebody had told me. So that's kind of the I mean, GM is a pretty simple acronym, but there are far more uh, more complicated terms and whatnot are out there. So the aim here is kind of to help people onboard into the space with a basically a ambitious educational platform. So the kind of the mission statement for Glosseta is to provide the best open, localized, decentralized education platform for anybody of any skill level looking to learn about Web3. And when I say decentralized, Glosseta isn't fully decentralized. Its content that is served in a decentralized fashion, though it is still served in regular Web2 fashion off of Next.js. So I can go briefly demo Glosseta. So it's pretty simple, right? It's like not much to it at the moment. So if you want to search for a particular term, let's say if you want to search for DAO, for example, right? So you search for DAO and you indeed get DAO as a definition. And what's what I think really sets Glosseta apart from any other glossary out there is the fact, as I mentioned before, the content is served in a decentralized manner. And how that is all of the definitions you see and all the content that is going to be uploaded in the future are stored on the Arweave storage protocol. And if you didn't know what the Arweave storage protocol is, basically it is a humongous, huge shared hard drive where data is stored in a permanent fashion. So basically, once you upload something, it's there forever and is unable to be taken down or be at the whim of the all too common 404s that you get from common APIs. So in short, Arweave is basically my database and my API for my content. So if you see here in the bottom, I have a little blurb on every particular definition that kind of tells you more or less that. And I have a link here that actually shows the actual transaction that is for a particular given definition. So you see here, this is the actual transaction for the term DAO being uploaded onto Arweave. And how typically, if you want to access data on Arweave, the convention is to hit arweave.net and then slash your transaction hash. And then arweave.net gets resolved into this fancy schmancy stuff. But basically, I have all my definitions stored as JSON. So there's the term, the description, the locale, and some extra metadata around that. Now, kind of going into some design decisions, what the terms, how the uploads look like are indeed the entire JSON that you just saw, but there's also this concept of tags. So tags are basically metadata you can attach to the content you upload. So I have this GraphQL that took away my query, so that sucks. Okay, but anyways, the intent is to basically allow you to attach extra metadata for your content. So you're not only restricted to JSON, you can upload like any multimedia, you can upload Markdown, any file, basically anything you can conceive of. And as a design decision, I decided to attach the all the elements of the JSON as tags. And why I did that was because the GraphQL API only allows you to fetch the transaction IDs. So if I were to search on my account for this given transaction, all I get back is the tags and the transaction that I was actually looking for. And that's not really helpful for me because then I'd have to take that transaction and do a network call to actually get the content. So that's two network calls that I chose not to do, and instead I kind of quote unquote hacked the system or used the system to my advantage to store the definitions as onto the metadata as well. Regularly, this would not be a recommended approach, just because metadata is metadata and shouldn't really be used to store your main content. But this is kind of the workaround until the GraphQL API can support returning data. So that's that. And then, of course, there's a new fancy schmancy glossary page. Oh, yeah, that has all the terms listed on it. This was a popular feature. Some people asked me to get on here, so I listened to the people, got that on, and that's basically the gist of what Glosseta is at the moment. But in terms of the future, I kind of see this playing out more of a educational platform, just going beyond a glossary, and even potentially going fully decentralized with regards to hosting. Though that's more so far along down the line. Um, but the intent is to basically offer open, uh, hopefully forever free, and decentralized education for basically anybody of any skill level looking to onboard into Web3 or even like Web2, for example, um, through different types of educational resources. So one idea that was thrown out there was potentially having like Wikipedia style articles here, or even an idea I came up with maybe was having like a quiz or something like that, or around a protocol or whatever. But the potential here is vast in my opinion, and it's there's still a long way to go to realize that, but I think there's a decent foundation here to be able to move forward. So uh, yeah, so this is the repository. Though maybe this is a good time to pause for questions before I carry on. Are there any going once, going twice? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. That's a fantastic question. Yes. So at the moment, the only way to officially get well, not technically the only way, but the main way to get definitions into the queue are through issues created here in the project. Uh, for non for people that are not comfortable using GitHub, the other means of notifying the community of adding a new term is through Twitter, through various links I have across the board. So, for example, if we want like developer DAO, for example, um, that's currently not in the list, but is in the queue to be added. So you'd be presented with a Twitter link and a issues link to be able to uh, open up a request. However, I recently today thought of something to kind of make it easier for people and not have to go through that route of possibly having a form submission on the page that doesn't necessarily allow for people to create definitions on their own to like officially upload. However, there could be a opportunity for example, to allow a person to fill in the necessary fields, and then have that somehow automatically create a definition intake on GitHub. I don't know how that will work, but that's just an idea that came in my head today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that. I want to do a bit of gatekeeping in regards to what gets uploaded, just because it's permanent, right? So what we upload, and it costs a AR token to do. So yes, in one hand, it would be great for the community to be able to just upload it themselves. But I think at least in the immediate term, it's probably better to allow them to request something and have it funneled here, just so there can be a review process around, oh, what's the term? Is it an appropriate term? Um, is a definition aligned with what the actual term is? So, for example, if somebody uh, requests a protocol definition, for example, but doesn't really get the details of it right, we don't want to have that uploaded and then the people of the protocol, people around the protocol getting angry or feeling they were misrepresented or whatnot. So I think there's like a fine line between it, in my opinion. Yeah. Thanks for the question. That's awesome. Seeing as we're short on time, I just want to touch on one more thing here before I open it up for the rest of the questions. So, in the GitHub wiki, there's a project roadmap that it's rough, but I think aligns with how I kind of see things working out for the at least now till the end of next year. So, what I call phase zero is today to the end of the year. And it's basically like setting up foundation um, around just like getting the glossary out there. So that's complete. Looking to get more steady following on social media. If you're not following glosseta.com, highly suggest it. You'll get a cool term every day up your learning game. And then just building up the knowledge base basically with more terms. Um, and then phase one is basically the first 3 quarters of next year is pretty much continue with the same uh, and look for more growth opportunities with regards to like open source funding and whatnot. So I recently uploaded Glosseta onto the uh, Gitcoin grants program, both the quote unquote centralized and decentralized versions. So to be honest with you, I don't know. I really didn't know what I was doing. I did something in hopes of kind of failing and learning at the same time. So we'll see where that goes to. But the funds through those grants will basically ensure that the the project kind of continues to grow. There's funding to upload new terms. Uh, there's potential funds for advertising, getting more or word of mouth spread on it, uh, and basically just looking to keep the lights on more or less at least at this moment of time. Um, so coming back in phase one as well, to look to different ideas to expand the functionality. So like I mentioned, some ideas were potentially adding like a Wikipedia style page for more complex Web3 topics like protocols, as was suggested as an idea. Um, Maybe profile pages for DAOs. I know that exists on some other platforms, but why not have it here too? Maybe a ENS lookup page. Oh, you see now we'll get like multi-chain decentralized dApps going here, right? And maybe even like a quiz page for Web3 for some daily trivia. And we can also look to some potential incentive points and maybe a tokenized system. I don't know. Um, just a way to incentivize people and to increase stickiness on the site. And as well as looking for translators to be able to translate this content. So um, right now, all the content is in English, but my North Star vision for it is to be fully localized in all different kinds of languages out there. Unfortunately, my language skills, at least in writing form, only go as far as English. But all you awesome people out there have more lingual skills than I do. So if you're looking for a way to contribute, and I'll actually get into how you can contribute in a second, that's one way to go about it. And phase two is maybe looking into turning Glosseta into a DAO. I don't know. It's just throwing an idea out there. Everything is becoming a DAO. Why not this, right? Um, but that's kind of way out, and all of this is subject to change. Now, just really quickly, how to contribute. So I do have a contributing doc. Yeah, contributing. Um, but I want to kind of throw it out there. You can have a read of this yourselves, but just quickly, I want to throw out there that yes, one way to contribute is coding. Another way to contribute is requesting definitions if you want. But uh, there's actual value here if you don't want to code code on Glosseta per se, where if there's a given protocol, for example, or an application or something you're very curious about, there's actually opportunities here for you to request that term and kind of do your own research around that and provide a summarized description of what that thing is. So you'll notice in the Issues tab, there are labels here saying research needed. So when you see that, that means that basically this term, all the meat of the content is basically empty. All we have is the broad term, but there's no actual definition for it. So there needs to be some deep diving that goes into it. So um, I know learning and learning groups and all that were a big topic in the developer guild. So if you're really into learning, you don't have to do it on your own. You can form groups and whatnot and do group learn sessions uh, and um, learn about basically whatever you want to learn about. And you can prove you know what you're talking about if you can provide a 2 to 3 sentence summary of the thing you've learned in a semi-technical fashion, where basically you're aiming to be able to describe basically what you've learned to almost anybody, and to be able for them to at least understand and pique their interest to go and learn themselves. And I realize I've been talking for like 20 minutes, and I will give the floor open. I'll have the floor open for questions. I'm sure there are many. Maybe. Yeah, yeah. Great question. So the Arweave has a JavaScript-based library that I'm using to upload the data to. So I have a side project, excuse me, called the Arweave JSON uploader. It's on the Glosseta wiki, or sorry, Glosseta README, so you can link off to that. But basically, how it works, if you can see my Visual Studios, is basically you do it through a API call, where you basically you specify the data that you want along with the metadata in the tag form. You give your key, and you basically let you sign the transaction, and it goes and it uploads it in bulk. More so, you can upload it in one shot, or with regards to like if you want to upload just one term, or you can upload it in bulk. So how I'm doing it for Glosseta is basically filling up a CSV, going through that CSV, collecting it, making individual requests, and sending them off. So there's no hard hat configuration, no contracts or whatever. It's all driven through JS code, which is really nice. And what's cool, they also support a a test weave, so to speak, so a local running instance of Arweave, so you can test upload your content before actually committing to writing that data onto the actual chain. And the Arweave JSON uploader is configured to run both against the test weave and the actual Arweave protocols. So give it a check out. You can look through the code to get an idea of how things are actually getting uploaded, and feel free to fork the code or copy the code or whatever. Use it as you see fit. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, for sure. I realize we're at time, though we start 5 minutes later. Does anybody have any questions or any further questions, I should say? Yes. So there's no definitive way of monetizing Glosseta at the moment, but my vision is eventually to be able to host uh, basically lessons in various different locales around various topics like protocols and how to get started with like Solidity or whatnot, um, and create some sort of incentive and reward system around that. So that's how I see uh, future monetization prospects coming in. I also had an idea out there of creating a GraphQL API that you could potentially have as require API key for, and I was kind of thinking about maybe having NFTs as API keys, that that could be another avenue of revenue. But at the moment, I'm not really looking to. It's not at a point where I can look to really make money out of it, and the only kind of um, quote unquote bank that will go to supporting the project is open source funding. At least that's kind of where I'm at in my mind. But the if the community has any other ideas, I'll be more than happy to consider those. Correct. Yes. No. No. Basically, any small amount kind of goes a long way, right? So the transactions themselves, as I mentioned, to upload to Arweave or cost AR token, but the amount that it actually costs is like in the micro pennies. So like for all the terms that I've uploaded so far, I don't think it's even cost like one full penny, maybe one penny at most, let's say. So any donations collected through the grant funds will go towards ensuring that there's enough AR token to be able to support all the terms that I know will be flooding in as time goes on. But there's already been some very um, awesome folks that have supplied me with and the project rather with DAI token and some USDC as well. So uh, like $30 of DAI. That's thousands of potential new terms that can be uploaded and help keep the lights on as well. Hopefully that answers your question or sheds more light rather. All right, we have maybe one more minute left here. Is there any other questions anybody had? Hopefully it's made sense and you kind of understand where what the project is and where I kind of see it going. And it would be really awesome if you're interested in this kind of thing. If you're looking to be a contributor in any type of form, coding or definitions wise, more than welcome to join. I've got a whole discussion board set up. Yay! So feel free to chime in here. But yes, final take. Any other questions? Yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah. Awesome question. Yes. So how I'm querying is I'm actually calling the graph or the GraphQL API from Arweave, and I'm fetching it from there. Remember I mentioned before that the terms themselves are uh, all the metadata is stored on the term as well as the actual description. So I made that trade-off to do it that way so I don't have to make two API calls, one to GraphQL to grab the transaction, another to go and actually get the JSON content. So I bypass one API call and get everything with one. Hopefully that makes sense. Sweet. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm actually it's unfortunate the query is actually maybe I can just show you the query in the code. Yes. Yeah, this one. Yes, this one. So this is the actual query here. So basically, I take in a tag and a locale. So the tag in this instance becomes the term. The locale is the locale, right? And then I have this. Oh, oops, sorry. And I have this extra metadata tag called source, which is basically just a tag that I stick on every term to know that this term actually came from me, or the Glosseta uploads rather. And then basically I'm doing the query by the tag. And that's kind of how they recommend you do it as well. You either do it by the tag or you do it by the public key of the wallet you use to upload the term. Yeah. All right. If there's no further questions, I will stop here just to respect everybody's time. And yeah, if you have any other questions, please do feel free to hit me up either on Discord or Twitter or whatnot. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and really looking forward to any and all collaborators coming to work on Glosseta, or just like if you want to learn together, hell yeah, why not, right? So yes, thank you for sharing your afternoons, mornings, evenings with me, and I hope this inspires one of you to take on the presenter role for DevNTell next week. There is no formal process to kind of sign up for that, so you kind of just, if you want, raise your hand, call dibs. And with that, I will stop.